Hello my dragon seeds, welcome to Fantasy Haven. This review will contain spoilers for Fire and Blood. Let's jump straight to the feast, shall we? Westerosi weddings, we've got chicken, dancing and mushrooms. House Targaryen must have seen that picture of Otto with the shades because they came with drip. Seriously, those costumes are so gorgeous. The tension creeping up throughout the feast was very unnerving. Daemon's never felt more dangerous than he did this episode. The way he murders Rhea Royce at the beginning, how he swaggers into the hall, how he speaks to Sir Gerald and outright tries to kiss Rhaenyra. We had glances and glares, flirting, confrontations, all while Viserys is trying not to collapse into a puddle.
Bring me one of those
lobsters.
Interesting how his previous speech about wanting to have been tested is contrasted with this moment. Everything is going to shit and he's just standing there helplessly, blood dripping from his nose. I have mixed opinions about the climax of this episode. I liked how the tension exploded into a brawl, but it reminded me way too much of episode 1 where all those knights suddenly started randomly murdering each other without any restrictions. Like, Criston attacks Joffrey off screen and somehow that triggers a massive brawl in the middle of the throne room. Laenor gets pushed, people are decking each other. Even Lionel gestures to Harwin like, "Go on son, save Rhaenyra from the chaos," and Harwin just leaps into the action and starts punching people. Harwin, son, just push through. Literally, just push through. You don't have to punch anyone, just push. I think this scenario would have made more sense if a general fight had broken out and then during the chaos, Criston attacks Joffrey without anyone noticing. You could play up tensions between the Lannisters, the Hightowers, the Valerians. Jason didn't get to marry Rhaenyra, so his men might be pissed. Otto got fired, so the Hightowers might be pissed. Both houses might despise the Velaryons for being up-jumped minor lords who overtook their wealth in a single generation. So what about the murder itself? Well, at first I felt a bit disappointed because I didn't fully comprehend why Criston Cole was committing a hate crime, but now I get it. Criston loves Rhaenyra, and perhaps more than that, he loves his honour. He wants to run away with her, not just because he loves her, but he wants to save what remains of his honour by starting anew and marrying her. Instead, she wants him to be her paramour, and he realises that he broke his vows for little more than a fling. His position as an honourable knight is all he has to his name, being a commoner of Dornish descent. His confession to Alicent makes it clear he's become suicidal, and he snaps at the wedding when Joffrey inadvertently holds his dishonour over him, inviting him into a sordid arrangement in a way that almost sounded like blackmail. But this whole situation begs the question, how does he get away with it? In Fire and Blood he kills Joffrey and attorney so it can be called an accident. Here he beats the groom's friend to death and then goes to the Godswood to kill himself without being apprehended. I don't know, maybe it should have been more of a duel or something like that. I have the feeling there was a deleted scene in the Godswood between Criston and Alicent. Apparently the Daemon versus Criston fight and Emma's death in episode 1 were separate scenes that were later made into a montage. Maybe they did the same thing here, with the Godswood as the penultimate scene and the wedding as the final scene, and they decided to create a montage, so they cut out the Godswood dialogue. I know this isn't going to get addressed because the next episode is a large time skip. It's not a massive deal. As an audience member, I can think of an excuse with the information that's been presented to me. Alicent can cover for him. Criston can claim that Joffrey tried to kill Rhaenyra because he was infatuated with Laenor. After all, he does die with a dagger in his hand. But it's certainly stretching my suspension of disbelief. Nevertheless, it's good setup for why he joins the Greens. For him, Rhaenyra is a temptress who corrupted him, forcing him to break his vows and kill a man. And I'm sure her bastards with Harwin Strong will reinforce his perception of her. Alicent, meanwhile, is his saviour. A truly dutiful and noble woman worth serving and protecting to restore his honour. Despite some questions I had at the end, I love this episode. It really felt like a mid-season finale or the ending of the prologue of this show, so it was very satisfying to watch with various threads coming together. Alicent's transformation has been great, and I have to shout out Emily Carey. She was definitely overshadowed by Millie Alcock in the early episodes, but she really has shone in this role. Alicent has been lied to by her best friend, a friend who abandons duty in the pursuit of personal pleasure. Unlike Alicent, who makes personal sacrifices for her house and her father, a father who lost his job due to Rhaenyra's actions, a father who insists to his daughter that Rhaenyra will murder her children to secure her position. It's manipulative, but I don't think Otto is lying. He views the world through a twisted Machiavellian lens, so of course he assumes Rhaenyra would do this. Alicent feels betrayed, angry, fearful, perhaps even jealous. It's a great starting point for her journey to becoming Rhaenyra's rival. Her costume evolution has told a story of its own. At first she wears a bluish dress representing her neutrality, innocence, lack of agency. After she gets married she wears Targaryen red. She is Viserys' wife. This episode she wears both. Her father leaves and she fluctuates between her current position and being that innocent girl again. Yet at the feast she arrives in her green dress, completing the transformation. She is a Hightower. She is the queen. She's giving herself agency. Also, people really had a problem with Larys explaining the green thing. Like, I get that some of the dialogue in the first couple episodes was clunky, but this didn't feel forced to me. Larys is the smart one, Harwin's probably a bit dumb, he's sharing some cool information with his brother. I don't know. Oh yeah, Harwin again. Not gonna lie, he might not even survive the next episode. How many viewers are gonna recognise who the fuck he is? He's had no screen time! Ryan, why do you hate Harwin Strong? Speaking of the Strongs, let's look at Larys. In retrospect, I've grown to like his subtle introduction in episode 1. It does suit the character. His line about the plant thriving in an environment it shouldn't seems like he's making a metaphor about Alicent, but maybe he's talking about himself. A man with a clubfoot, a second son, surviving in this world of physical prowess. I wonder what his motivations are for stirring up shit and forging an alliance with Alicent. He's a very confusing character in the book. I wonder if he'll be given actual motivations for his actions in this series, or if they'll just make his intentions completely ambiguous the entire time, like in Fire and Blood. What else? Well, I really liked Joffrey this episode. It's a shame we didn't see more of him. He was very charismatic and likeable in a dickish way. It's nice to see that he and Laenor have actual characterization besides they are gay. He has lots of gay sex. He's scared of blood for some reason. They're gay. They're gay men. Viserys talking about his legacy was one of the best scenes. He's not a peacemaker or a peace breaker, so how will history remember him? It's tragic because we know how. As a politically incompetent man, blind to the divisions in his family and partly responsible for the Dance of the Dragons. At this point I think it's clear that Mellos is incompetent and his medical malpractice is causing Viserys to become more ill. Mellos has difficulty standing up and we know from Fire and Blood that Orwyle becomes Grand Maester, so I think Mellos will die during the time skip and Orwyle will change Viserys' prescription to explain why he's still fucking alive. The episode ends with a rat slurping up some tasty Lonmouth blood. I imagine the increasing display of rats is taking on some thematic importance, a metaphor for the corruption and decay in King's Landing, perhaps also foreshadowing for a certain duo named Blood and Cheese. Final shout out to Millie and Emily for their amazing final performances, also to Theo Nate as well as Savannah Stain, whose brief appearance enraptured me. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more content, comment too, apparently that helps. I'll be making more content in the future. See ya.